Hello everybody, welcome back to my channel. And today I have another video for you guys from Swagkage. Well, actually, I have two videos for you guys from Swagkage. Yes, I'm going to be doing something I've never done before. We're going to be reacting to two videos in the same video. Now, the only reason why I'm doing this uh, for this video specifically is because each video is only about like 5 or 6 minutes long. So it's not really all that long, and I don't think it'll make this video that you're watching too long. And also, these videos were requested, so I just decided to compile them into one video because, again, they're pretty short videos, so they should be very easy to digest. So let's just go ahead and watch these videos. The first one is explaining magnet release. Now, as I said, these were requested, and if you have your own videos you want me to watch, just let me know about them in the comment section down below, as always. So with that being said, let's just go ahead and watch the video.
Alright, what's going on everybody? Swagkage here, and welcome to today's video. Today we're going to be talking about magnet style, magnet release, or Jiton, whichever you want to call it. A nature release Kekkei Genkai that most people would agree is created through the union of wind release and earth release. It's never confirmed anywhere that magnet release is a combination of these two basic natures, but many people cite the fact that Rasa, Gaara's father and the fourth Kazekage, has access to wind release, earth release, and water release. And since the combination of wind and water creates ice release, and the combination of water and earth creates wood release, the only possible combination left for magnet release would be wind release and earth release. Anyway, that aside, magnet release does exactly what you probably think it does. It gives a person the ability to create, control, and manipulate magnetic fields, though to what extent I'm not entirely sure. Magnet release is a very unique nature transformation.
I feel like it does vary from person to person, which is actually kind of normal. In most nature release techniques, like for example, look at Kakashi and Sasuke, for example. Oh, and look at the Raikage. Three characters you could say are very known for using lightning release techniques, but it varies depending on who's using it. Someone like Sasuke, whom you could say has, let's say, a higher chakra reserve than Kakashi, not to mention you could say a probably better understanding of chakra than even Kakashi does, was already remembered to be a genius. You could say someone like Sasuke could use lightning release better than Kakashi, even though Kakashi's nature is lightning release. But then you have the Raikage, who's from the village hidden in the clouds. You could say because that entire village, you could say, specializes in lightning release. You could say that the way they would use it is different than how someone else would use it. That's why I say it kind of varies from person to person. Depends on who's using it.
It is the only one that's been seen in the entire series that allows a person to turn their chakra into something intangible. While there are other examples of abilities that give a person control over invisible universal concepts, like, for example, the Diva Path of the Rinnegan, which gives a person access to telekinetic powers, magnet release is the only of the nature transformations that can be categorized this way. Every other nature transformation, including the 5 basic ones, and all of the Kekkei Genkai, involve the user giving their chakra physical form and turning it into an element like ice, fire, water, wind, what have you, and using it for direct offensive purposes, whereas magnet release is used to create a magnetic field that turns the user's surroundings into a weapon, as opposed to directly weaponizing their chakra itself. It's incredibly unique in this regard, but as you'd expect, it's very rare as well. In the original manga, the only people to naturally acquire magnet release were the third Kazekage, Rasa, Shukaku, and Toroi. And Toroi was famously hailed as Toroi of the magnet release, so that should give you a little bit of insight into how rare this nature transformation is. Now, near the end of the manga and some post-series movies and novels, more users of magnet release did emerge. Naruto gained access to it when he became the Jinchuriki of Shukaku. It was revealed in Gaara Shinden that Gaara has access to magnet release. A kid named Shinki from Boruto Naruto the movie had access to it, and a kid by the name of Kajira from the...
We also did see more of him. This is one thing I will give the Boruto anime kind of credit for, is that they did kind of expand on certain characters, although it does kind of suck that we never saw any more of Shinki, because I will admit I did kind of like his character, and I do think his design is pretty damn cool, not to mention his ability. And it does kind of suck that we unfortunately it doesn't seem like we're going to see much of him, because it seems like the story is starting to shift to Boruto, the Leaf Village, and dealing with, this current Otsutsuki threat, which I feel like I don't like it because it's kind of doing the same mistake that Shippuden did, where it basically shifted the focus to being on Naruto and Sasuke and not so much on the side characters, which is something a lot of people did criticize about the Naruto manga. And it seems like the Boruto manga is kind of going to go into the same direction, which, yeah.
Same Gara Shinden novel that I just mentioned can also use magnet release. So, while it's not quite as rare as it once was anymore, magnet release is still very scarcely seen. It's unclear how a person gains access to magnet release, though, as the fourth data book states that Rasa learned magnet release from the third Kazekage, and it's also stated that the third Kazekage studied Shukaku's magnet release ability and did his best to mimic it in his applications of magnet release, but at the same time, in the Gara Shinden novel, it says that Gara inherited Rasa's magnet release. So, just like with particle release, I'm not sure if magnet release can be taught or if it is genetic. In any case, magnet release suffers from the same lack of exposition that many other aspects of the Naruto universe do, and as a result, there's not a whole lot to say about how it can be applied. It's applied in different ways by everybody who uses it, though I can say that its various applications are the most similar among the three Kazekage who had access to it. All three of them use magnet release in conjunction with their ability to control sand in some way, shape, or form. The third Kazekage used his magnet release in order to control iron and blend it with his sand, which he would use to literally crush his enemies. Rasa used it to control gold, which he would blend in with his sand in order to increase his sand's weight and suppress the sand that Shukaku used whenever he attacked the sand village. Gaara's is by far the weirdest and probably weakest of these applications, as he applies magnet release by blending unspecified metals in with his sand, which supposedly increases the density of his sand in order to counter any technique specifically designed to penetrate it. Toroe and Naruto's applications of magnet release are completely different though, as Toroe uses it by applying a magnetic field to the various shuriken he throws, and Naruto combines magnet release with his Rasengan in order to stifle the movements of any enemies that are hit by it. But yeah, the ins and outs of it definitely aren't explained in depth, which really sucks because it seems like some characters have access to one kind of magnetism, while others have access to another. It really would have been cool if Kishimoto elaborated on all of this stuff, but, well, as you can probably tell if you've been watching my videos for any length of time, he leaves a whole lot of stuff in the dark. So, since there's not much left for me to say about magnet release, this is where I'm gonna end the video off. As always, thank you guys for watching the video all the way to the end. If you enjoyed it, make sure you leave a like, and if you're new here, make sure to subscribe to get notified when I upload new content in the future. If you have any ideas for future video topics you want me to cover, leave them in the comments below, and I just might tackle whatever it is you want me to in a future video. Anyhow, hope you guys have a fantastic day. Hope to see you in my next video, and until then, so long. Talk to you later, everybody. Swagkage out. Bye.
Okay, so yeah, that's gonna be the video, and well, not this video, but the video that we just watched. But yeah, I do agree with what he just said in the end. You know, this is a problem that we've highlighted before in previous videos when it comes to Kishimoto, and I know it's not just him. Kubo, for example, when it comes to mostly the final arc of Bleach, is that they have a tendency to leave a lot to interpretation when it comes to the audience, and that's why I feel like there's so many misconceptions out there, because it's not really, you could say, the audience's fault, because a lot of it is left to interpretation. I feel like there's no, like, Kishimoto never 100% like says that no, this is what happened in the story. Like, there's no, it's not up for interpretation. I mean, I don't have a problem with stories leaving things up to interpretation. In fact, sometimes I kind of prefer it, but I feel like there are some things where the author needs to clarify, like, no, this is it. This specifically isn't open to interpretation, like, especially when it comes to lore and world building, and especially when it comes to your power system. I don't feel like you should. I know there are different magic systems, like hard magic systems and soft magic systems, where a soft magic system does have certain rules, but overall, like, it doesn't have strict rules, whereas a hard magic system specifically says, no, these are the rules. These are all the different rules. This is what the power system can and cannot do specifically, and they go into strict detail as to what it can and cannot do. Like, let's say, for example, just use anime and manga. Okay, look at Hunter x Hunter, for example. I would say Hunter x Hunter does have a hard magic system. Togashi went pretty into detail when it comes to what Nen can or cannot do when it comes to the people who use it. Whereas, let's say Ki, for example, in Dragon Ball is an example of a soft magic system, because while, you know, at first we thought there are certain things Ki can allow a person to do, but then again, as the story goes on, Excuse me, just got something for a second. Toriyama added certain things that says ki allows you to do. Like, for example, in the beginning, no one used ki to fly because you thought, oh well, this is probably something ki can do. But then, of course, we got the introduction of characters like Tenshinhan and Chaozu, and then of course you had the Crane Hermit, and they had the ability to fly, and then you realize, oh, this is something ki can actually allow you to do. It can even allow you to fly, and then of course you can shoot energy beams out of your hands, and you can use it to enhance your strength or whatever. And it's just, again, I don't mind leaving things up to interpretation, but I feel like there are certain things that you kind of have to clarify. Like, for example, like you said, when it comes to magnet release, it's not really clear whether it's something you can learn or if it's something you inherit. Maybe it's both. I don't know. It's just, yeah, there's that. But anyway, I feel like I've talked long enough. Let's just go ahead and move on to Blaze release. Like I said, this is 2 videos in one because they're pretty short videos, and I'm not going to talk as much because I don't want to make this video any longer than it needs to be. So let's go ahead and watch Blaze release.
Yo, what's going on, everybody? Swagkage here, and welcome to today's video where we're going to be talking about Inton, Blaze Release, or Inferno Style, depending on what you want to call it. Blaze Release is a pretty odd concept because while Sasuke refers to it as its own nature transformation, separate from Fire Release, it's not. Blaze Release is just a heightened level of Fire Release, to describe it the most simply. And what's even stranger about it is it's an elemental ninjutsu reliant on an ocular power. 2 ocular powers, actually. Blaze Release is derived from Amaterasu, a Mangekyo Sharingan ability used by Itachi and Sasuke, and further derived from Sasuke's Kagetsuchi ability, which he casts from his right Mangekyo Sharingan. Now, before I proceed any further, I should probably briefly summarize what Amaterasu is and how it works. Amaterasu is a fire release jutsu, and the highest level fire release jutsu a person can perform to date in the Naruto world. Its only canon users are Itachi and Sasuke, though Indra does use it in he and Ashura's filler arc. Anyhow,
Again, I'll just say this briefly. Do not count these as canon. These are awful. They make no sense. How does Indra have the exact same Mangekyo as Sasuke does, and he even has the same Susanoo? I know some people will say, well, reincarnates. I don't use that as an excuse, okay? The thing that was awesome about the Mangekyo is that each person had their own unique look to their Mangekyo. And the fact that Indra's and Sasuke's are pretty much copies of each other, no, just no. These don't count. These are awful. They're not canon in my opinion. They're not. I don't count them as canon.
Arc. Anyhow, more importantly, Amaterasu entails the creation of black flames at wherever they happen to be looking with the Sharingan they're casting it from. And its most notable traits, which are also the reasons why it's considered so powerful, are its inability to be extinguished by any physical means, and its tendency to burn, quote, for 7 days and 7 nights. This is likely hyperbole, but it's also supposedly as hot as the surface of the sun, so I mean, there's really no way to survive getting hit by Amaterasu. Not even the Raikage could tank a hit from it. He had to have his arm removed after it made contact.
Which, if you think about it, is again kind of makes sense because it does fall into Kishimoto style because, again, I've said this before, but you could say that one of the flaws of Kishimoto's writing is he has a tendency to give people these insanely powerful, and I mean powerful abilities. And the only problem is that moving forward, you start to think, okay, well, if this person has this ability, then it is kind of overpowered. So he basically had to keep introducing ways to sort of either nerf the attack or just come up with these out of nowhere abilities to just to either have people combat those abilities. Like, for example, it used to be that the Amaterasu will burn literally everything it comes in contact with. Literally everything. But then what ended up happening, for example, in the fight with Obito used the staff he created from the truth-seeking orb in order to block it, and all of a sudden the truth-seeking orbs can nullify ninjutsu. And then later on, it turns out that in the this was mostly done in the anime. I think this was in the manga. I don't remember. It's been a while since I read those chapters. But in the fight between Naruto and Sasuke tries to use Amaterasu, and then Naruto blocks it by coating the 9 cells of chakra into his arm and then just tossing it aside. And Apparently now the excuse is that it can't burn through everything. It can't burn through chakra, which, if that's the case, you can't say it burns through everything if there's something it can't burn through. Do you see what I mean? It's just, again, this is a problem with Kishimoto's writing. He gives characters these overpowered abilities and then has to find ways to sort of nullify their effectiveness, which honestly kind of, if that's the case, then just don't do it in the first place. That's
contact with the wall of Amaterasu. The only ways to counter it are to absorb it with the Rinnegan or to just dodge it. And avoiding it is incredibly difficult because of the speed.
There are a lot of other methods, but they're all higher tier hacks, i.e. Izanagi, that's true, Shinra Tensei, Yin Yang release, 6-pass Senjutsu, and hacks regen. Yeah, the only way to Kishimoto realized that the only way to sort of counteract this is to say that, oh, this other person has these incredibly broken hacks abilities, which, yeah.
Speed at which it travels. It's projected from the Sharingan to its intended location almost instantaneously, and the only people capable of dodging it are speedsters like Minato or the Raikage. The biggest problem with Amaterasu is its lack of versatility, since it can only be fired in one direction, and once the flames have made contact, the user can't really do anything else with them. The purpose of Blaze Release is to overcome this limitation by applying shape transformation to the flames of Amaterasu, allowing a person to freely control the flames in any way that they can imagine. As I mentioned earlier, this is accomplished through the use of Sasuke's right Mangekyo Sharingan ability, Kagetsuchi, which allows him to bend and control the flames of Amaterasu freely. It's only when a technique uses both Amaterasu and Enton Kagetsuchi that Sasuke considers it a Blaze Release technique, and this makes pulling off Blaze Release jutsu in rapid succession much harder than it is to do so with any other nature, since repeated use of a person's Mangekyo Sharingan will cause them to go blind and lose these abilities, but of course this problem can be overcome by obtaining the Eternal Mangekyo Sharingan. With the Eternal Mangekyo Sharingan in his possession, Sasuke is able to use Blaze Release with incredible finesse. I think his showings with Blaze Release are actually even better than his showings with Fire Release. And I guess this makes sense, since Kagetsuchi is what he got in place of Tsukuyomi, so if I were Sasuke, I'd want it to be pretty powerful. And the fact that it allows him to manipulate the flames of Amaterasu more easily than he can manage to manipulate basic fire techniques, I mean, that sounds like a pretty fair trade-off to me. Even before he got his Eternal Mangekyo Sharingan, Sasuke's showings with Kagetsuchi and Amaterasu were pretty crazy. Like I mentioned earlier, he took out one of the Raikage's arms, and right after that, nearly killed the guy with the wall of Amaterasu. By the time Sasuke had the Eternal Mangekyo Sharingan, his Blaze Release powers just got ridiculous. I imagine that Kagetsuchi and Amaterasu in combination with one another do take up quite a bit more chakra than Fire Release jutsu do. So, to say that the Eternal Mangekyo Sharingan allowed him to use them endlessly wouldn't be exactly accurate, but it's still true that getting rid of the risk of blindness associated with overuse of the Mangekyo Sharingan gave Sasuke a whole lot more freedom with these abilities. He can create Amaterasu shields, Amaterasu shields that cling to his Susanoo, Amaterasu swords that his Susanoo can use, Amaterasu arrows that his Susanoo can fire out of a crossbow. He can combine Blaze Release with both his Chidori and Naruto's Rasen Shuriken. He can imbue the Yasuka Magatama beads created by the Susanoo with Amaterasu. I mean, as a matter of fact, he has a technique named Enton Susanoo Kagetsuchi, or Blaze Release Susanoo Flame Control. And it's just like regular Kagetsuchi, except on a way larger scale because now it's being used by his Susanoo. All of the previous Enton Susanoo abilities that I mentioned fall under this, in addition to any other ridiculous applications that he can find for it. The thing that makes all of this so ridiculous is that Blaze Release is practically unbeatable because the flames can't be extinguished, and they don't burn for a limited amount of time or anything. Like I said, they're said to burn for 7 days and 7 nights. This means not only are most of Sasuke's Blaze Release jutsu strong against any other ninjutsu you pit them up against, but it's also really easy to find a way to combine Blaze Release in with any jutsu that Sasuke can perform. He even has an Enton Fireball jutsu, and that's just stacking fire on top of fire. Like, it's not like he just makes a fireball jutsu out of the flames of Amaterasu. He forms a regular fireball jutsu that's like orange and everything, and then coats it with Amaterasu on top of that. Now granted, he only does this in Naruto Shippuden Ultimate Ninja Storm 4, but who's gonna tell me he can't actually do this?
Yeah.
He fit Enton inside of a Chidori. It's not too much of a stretch to imagine that, yeah, he can put a Matarasu on top of a fireball jutsu as well. That would not by any stretch be the most ridiculous thing he has accomplished. The craziest thing I've seen him do with Blaze Release is also a Storm 4 exclusive thing, but I don't see why he couldn't accomplish it with his regular on-screen abilities as well either. He uses a Matarasu to pierce the enemy and then traps them inside of a Chibaku Tensei, which he lights up with an Amaterasu. He then activates his perfect Susanoo, creates a Chidori with it, lights it up with Amaterasu, and blows up the entire Chibaku Tensei, which is still coated in Amaterasu. How are you supposed to stop that? I'm telling you, man, Sasuke's Enton is not stoppable.
Okay. I do get what he's saying. It is pretty insane. The thing that he mentioned here, where he, sort of traps someone in Chibaku Tensei full of that's coded in Amaterasu. That's one thing that I do love about the Storm games, is that they do get creative with what the characters can do, and it does, in my opinion, it does kind of suck that we never see this in the anime, because imagine how awesome this would look animated. Imagine if, let's say, the person who animated episode 65 and episode 64 was told that in this episode Sasuke's gonna do this, and in combination with Naruto he will, like, let's say he has this combo attack with Naruto where he does this, he traps them into Chibaku Tensei, that's coded in Amaterasu, and then Naruto uses his Six Paths power to, let's say, create that a tailed beast Rasen Shuriken thing, and then uses it to just blow it up out of nowhere. Imagine how insane that would look in anime form. And it does kind of suck, because the thing about the Storm games is it shows these characters using their abilities in ways that you kind of wish that the anime would show, or would show them use in the story. Like, for example, I think in the Storm 4 they released a DLC where you saw where you see the last version of Sasuke, from Naruto, the last Naruto the movie, and then of course the adult Sasuke with Boruto. But you see how he fights and how he incorporates the abilities of the Rinnegan into the fight. And every time I see it, all I can think is, why are we not seeing Sasuke do this in the anime? Especially when you went out of your way to tell me that he is basically fully mastered the Rinnegan, and yet we never see him utilize the Rinnegan's abilities in the fight. And not everyone, of course, but let's say in fighters against, let's say Momoshiki or Ishiki or Jigen, basically these Otsutsuki level threats, you would think that, considering these are fights where he's basically putting his life on the line, you would think that, okay, I can't afford to hold back. I will utilize every technique I have in my arsenal and just go all out. If there's a chance I'm gonna die, then I'm not gonna hold anything back. But instead, it's just, they always resort to just simple basic taijutsu. And I know some people say, well, yeah, but don't they have the ability to absorb chakra? That's true, but he doesn't. Not every ability from the Rinnegan requires chakra. Like, let's say, for example, one thing we saw Sasuke use, this was in the anime and in the game, but how he utilizes Chibaku Tensei is, let's say, for example, he doesn't need to create like the little gravity sphere or whatever. He basically chooses a target and then uses them as the center, like what he did with Momoshiki. Imagine if you were to do that, trap an enemy in a Chibaku Tensei, even if it's a small one, just to keep them trapped, and then Naruto has a chance to create an ability to, let's say, this giant Kurama chakra hand and just smash them into the ground, and just because leave them immobilized even if it's for like a second, it's enough so that Naruto could land a very strong attack. And it's just, it kind of sucks that they never got creative with their abilities. They have them use simple taijutsu, which, yeah, it looks cool, but you have all these other abilities and you never see you use them. If that's the case, why even have them at all? And it just feels like such a waste.
Amaterasu. He then activates his perfect Susanoo, creates a Chidori with it, lights it up with Amaterasu, and blows up the entire Chibaku Tensei, which is still coded in Amaterasu. How are you supposed to stop that? I'm telling you, man, Sasuke's Enton is not stoppable. I'm not saying it isn't cool, but it's just ridiculous what he can pull off with it. His use of Blaze Release is easily one of the best examples of shape transformation in the entire history of, like, all of Shinobi ever. But yeah, that about does it for Blaze Release. If you have any questions about it, of course, leave them in the comments below. If you're new here, make sure to subscribe to get updates when I post new content. And if you enjoyed the video, make sure you leave a like on it. If you really love me, you can check the description for the links to my Twitter account and my Patreon. And of course, as always, I hope you guys have a fantastic day. Thank you for watching the video all the way to the end. Hope to see you in my next video, and I'll talk to you later. Swagkage out. Bye.
Alright, so there's the video. So I'm not gonna keep you guys here any longer. I feel like I've made this video longer than it needs to be. So if you enjoyed the video, just do the usual YouTube things. Leave a like, share the video, and please subscribe to my channel to help me reach my goal of hitting 1,000 subs before the end of the year. You know, if you really want to show your support, because I know from the analytics, most of you guys who watch my channel are not subscribed. So if you want to change that, you could just hit that subscribe button and again help me hit that goal of 1,000 subs before the end of the year. So with that being said, thank you so much again, and as always guys, if you have a video you want me to watch, just let me know about it in the comment section down below. You guys stay safe, take care of yourselves, bye for now.